So recently, Valve revealed their newest game to the world, Deadlock, a hero shooter with a ton of unique characters fighting within a noir occult universe. It looks and sounds really cool. I wonder if it'll take inspiration more from Overwatch or maybe evolve on the ideas Team Fortress 2 created. Wait, this is just Dota. It's been a minute since we've had a new game from Valve. Half-Life Alyx in 2020 seemed like the introduction for Valve's big push into the VR space. Alongside the Valve Index the previous year, it felt like Valve finally found a new innovation for them to explore in their games. One I think most of us expected them to continue down alongside the push of the Source 2 engine. So it really did come as a surprise when it was rumored that Valve was in development of a new multiplayer shooter game. A market that Valve already has a heavy hand in with TF2 and Counter-Strike. But it wasn't an unwelcome surprise, and I think most people were interested in seeing what the studio behind big titles like Half-Life were going to come up with next. That's when in 2023, leaks from inside Valve Studio hinted at their newest title, Neon Prime. I'll be the first to say that I am glad this is not the aesthetic they stuck with. Buzz Lightyear meets a cyber's world, my god. The game would stay as Neon Prime for a while before it was reported in leaks a year later about the new look of Deadlock. In a very secret playtest. Look, Valve really tried to keep this secret, but their private playtest of Deadlock sent waves of rumors and news about the game across the industry, as you could invite friends to play alongside you during the test. Sure, you weren't allowed to talk about the game, but come on. Valve finally gave up on keeping it secret when they officially revealed Deadlock by making the store page public. No, seriously, no announcement? There's no way people will pay attention to that. It has 100,000 players. So now that the entire gaming world has their eyes on Deadlock, let's hop in to find out what Valve's newest possible hit is like. The first thing you'll notice is that despite the neat little opening, Deadlock looks very bare bones. There's very little presentation in the game. Characters stand in idle poses in the menus with some effects laid over it. Joining a game sends you straight into the startup with little to no ceremony. There's very little happening in the game outside of just playing the game. It's a little refreshing to have a game get straight to the point. Anyways, is my Valorant game ready? Oh, we're still loading. But as I talk about this, I have to mention the big old badge stuck on the Deadlock logo. Early development build. Deadlock is still, technically, in alpha, and everything from the HUD, menus, graphics, characters, or gameplay elements are all subject to change. You may say that it's a bit unfair to review a game in its alpha playtest, but the game is publicly available to everybody and is most likely to stay that way. So I feel it's more than fair to review Deadlock like you would an early access game. Plus, you're here watching it, so who's the real problematic one here? Okay, fine, it's me. Despite being in an alpha build, Deadlock still has a lot of good designs coming out of it. It took me a bit to warm up to the looks of the Deadlock heroes, but the more I played, the more they grew on me. I especially like the designs of Dynamo and Ivy. They're really unique ideas that fit well with their characters. There's a lot more fun designs too, like Viscus, Abrams, Bebop, and... Didn't know I was playing XCOM. The world itself is pretty unique too. We find ourselves in the noir-painted streets of Spanish Harlem, New York, in a version of America beset by supernatural forces from different worlds, finding their way into ours through astral gates that break open and allow anything from ghosts, demons, monsters, and even this guy onto Earth. Jacob Lash is an asshole. God tier writing, genuinely well done, well done, well done. Among the many occult figures in Deadlock, there also exist the entities known as patrons. Powerful deities that promise to grant the wishes of those that summon them from their original worlds to Earth. The promises they give to the disparate heroes bring them together to fight for their patron, and to destroy the other patron before they can be summoned instead. And that's the premise of Deadlock. Every game you fight to bring a horrific entity the power they need to grant your desires, completely blind to whether or not they truly will help you, or merely use you as a step to absolute power. Wait, is this an occult ritual or an election season? But with that, we can finally get into the action of Deadlock. Hopping into a match greets you with a 6v6 third-person hero shooter. But don't start thinking about Overwatch or Marvel Rivals when you hear that. This game is not an objective-based arena game with heavy chokes, control points, and payloads. Deadlock makes it abundantly clear that it is not an objective-based shooter. Deadlock is a MOBA. No, you can't take me back, no! Everything you'd expect in your average MOBA can be seen here in Deadlock. In fact, it's more MOBA than your average MOBA because this MOBA has 4 lanes instead of 3.
Know your fucking place, trash!
The streets of Spanish Harlem do separate themselves pretty heavily from your summoner's rifts of the MOBA sphere. There are zip lines connected to every lane that makes it easier to traverse back and forth from. Shops are conveniently placed nearby any friendly tower you have, as long as that tower is alive. And scattered across the map are statues and boxes that, when broken, have a chance to drop goodies to help you throughout a match. Link would be proud. You spend most of a match gathering souls from the enemy troopers, and you have to secure your souls by shooting them as they come out of enemies. And if you're not fast enough, an enemy can shoot the soul instead, stealing it. And on top of that, the unique designs don't end at the hero since there are no roles in Deadlock. Every hero can play every lane, and there's no jungler to speak of. You are randomly assigned at the start of the game a solo or duo lane, and can succeed regardless of which one it is. The heroes' kits are all pretty unique and fun to play too, with everyone having a set of dashes and jumps on top of it to really add to the options you have. I personally feel that some characters have a few too many options to pick from, but I'm not well versed enough in balancing to tell you that as a fact. But MOBAs tend to have a rather infamous learning curve you have to get over to truly understand the games. And you'd expect Deadlock to be the same. What Deadlock has over most MOBAs, however, is the more familiar shooter mechanics. Any player with some FPS experience will probably understand how to play the heroes and shoot the enemy, so it should be a little easier, right? Wrong. Okay, let's take this lane. Man, I deal no damage to them. What am I missing here? Hey, stop stealing my souls! Stop! No! Fuck! I'm going back to Overwatch. Having a poor understanding of a MOBA's macro play will burn you heavily here in Deadlock. You'll spend most of the game constantly trying to catch up to the players who have amassed thousands of souls in the time it took you to get 1k. And you'll look even more lost as you try to find where the neutral mobs are or when a good time to take a fight is when you're so underleveled. But there is a chance to even the divide as you upgrade. Deadlock allows you to unlock and upgrade your abilities as you amass souls, so building the right abilities up can make a big difference. And alongside the right items, you can become a force to be reckoned with. You just have to interact with that. Do I need to get more ammo? Wait, maybe I should get a speed boost. Should I get spirit armor or bullet armor? I need 6,000 souls for this? Oh. The complexity of Deadlock only gets worse as you build up souls and need to interact with item shops. With a ton of different options from buffs, shields, active abilities, and more, you can become a force to be reckoned with if you have the right kit. But it's pretty hard to understand what you should be prioritizing and whether or not you're wasting your money getting the wrong item. Everything in the game when I first started, even after playing the tutorial, left me with one feeling: confusion. And I'll be honest, it nearly made me stop playing. But while there is a lot to learn, I found out that if I just picked a hero I liked, picked one popular build for them, and just stuck with that, I could focus on what I could do. Doing that gave me the opportunity to learn how to practice laning and securing my souls, and get familiar with where the neutrals are and how I could kill them. The more I focused on what I could do and not worry about the greater game as a whole, the more I started to enjoy Deadlock for what it is. And there is a lot to enjoy. Beating your lane opponent in a 1v1, pulling off a big play in a teamfight, getting out of a sticky situation, or winning the game in a nail-biting finish. These moments are some incredible highs, and the solid movement and gunplay in between gives me the feeling I desperately wish I had in games like Dota or League. Deadlock is a fun game, but not easy to learn. I hope that as Deadlock continues development, Valve will try to make these fun parts more accessible. Maybe adding simpler modes like one lane or arena that brings the game down to a smaller focus and lets you ease into the bigger parts at your own pace. Or even just more in-depth guides on what's good to use for your hero in the item shop outside of just a big bucket of recommendations. And I should say that outside of a single crash at the end of a game and some minor graphical issues, I never encountered any big bugs in my time playing. If this is the base for Deadlock, then it has a lot of space to grow and evolve into an even bigger and even better game. But that's all in the future. For now, Deadlock is an interesting and confusing game, but it's a fun one. Well, it's time for me to get back to business. Maybe I'll do one more Ivy game before I go. Hey, what are you looking at?
It's like gardening, but violent.
Wait, I'm not a free meal. Don't get any closer.
Ya vengo pa ti!